The first time I saw someone else's laundry hanging on my fence, I honestly thought it was just a mistake. Maybe the wind carried it over, or someone needed a quick place to hang one or two things. But when I stepped closer and saw full outfits, towels, bed sheets, all neatly clipped across my fence like it had been planned, I realized this wasn't random. Someone was using my property like it belonged to them. And I didn't say anything right away because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. But what they didn't realize was I pay attention, and once I see a pattern, I don't ignore it. Before I get into the full story, if you enjoy stories like this, make sure you like the video and subscribe to Karen's Stories Daily. It really helps the channel grow, and trust me, this one builds slowly and gets very satisfying by the end. So here is what happened. My house sits right behind an HOA neighborhood, but my land is not part of that HOA. There is a fence that clearly separates my property from theirs. It is not shared, not decorative. It is mine. I installed it, I maintain it, and it marks exactly where my property ends. For years, everything was fine. People stayed on their side and I stayed on mine. No issues at all. The new neighbors moved in behind my fence. At first, they seemed normal. We did not talk much, just a simple wave here and there. Nothing unusual. A few days after they moved in, I walked into my backyard and noticed a towel hanging over the top of my fence. It was clipped in place like someone had intentionally used it as a line. I took it down and placed it back over to their side without saying anything. I assumed it would not happen again. The next day it happened again, but this time it was not just a towel. There were shirts, pants, even bed sheets stretched across my fence. That is when I knew it was not accidental. I walked up to the fence and called out. The wife came outside and I kept it polite. I told her clearly that the fence is part of my property and I would appreciate it if they did not use it for laundry. She smiled and said it was just temporary and that they did not have enough space on their side. I told her I understood but still asked her not to use my fence. She nodded and went back inside. The next day it happened again. Same setup, same clips, same behavior. That is when I realized they did not take me seriously. I removed everything again and placed it back neatly on their side. Still calm, still giving them a chance to correct it. But it kept happening. Every single day, there was something new hanging across my fence like it was part of their routine. They were not even trying to hide it anymore. They were using it like it belonged to them. I went over again, and this time I spoke to both of them. I made it very clear that I had already asked them once, and I expected them to respect that boundary. The husband stepped in, and his attitude was different. He said it was just a fence, and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. That sentence told me everything. They did not see this as wrong. They saw it as something they could keep doing because I had not pushed back hard enough. I did not argue with him. I did not raise my voice. I simply repeated that it was my property, and I did not want them using it. He shrugged and walked away like the conversation did not matter. After that, I stopped talking about it and started observing. For the next few days, I watched from a distance. Same pattern every day. Morning laundry, clips, fence used like it was theirs. No hesitation, no concern, no respect for what I had already said. At that point, I understood something clearly. This was not going to stop with another conversation. They had already decided my words did not matter. So I decided to handle it differently. Not aggressively, not illegally, but in a way that would make the message impossible to ignore. I was not trying to hurt them or damage anything. I just wanted them to understand that my property was not theirs to use. One morning before they came out with their laundry, I made a small change to the top of the fence. Nothing dangerous, nothing extreme, but definitely something that would make using it a bad idea. Then I waited. Right on schedule, they came out with their laundry basket. Same routine, same confidence. They started hanging their clothes across the fence like they always did. I stayed inside and watched. A few hours later, the wife came back out to collect everything. At first, everything looked normal. Then she started noticing something was off. She picked up one shirt and looked at it closely, then another. Her expression changed quickly from calm to confused, and then to frustrated. She checked more clothes, and it became obvious something was wrong. The clothes were not ruined completely, but they were definitely not clean anymore. Whatever had transferred from the fence made them unusable without washing again. She looked over the fence at me and asked what happened. I walked over calmly and said, "This is exactly why I asked you not to use my fence." She tried to argue and said I should have warned her. I reminded her that I had already spoken to her about it more. Then once, the husband came out again, and this time his tone was not the same. He looked at the clothes, and then at the fence, and finally at me. For the first time, he understood that this was not something he could dismiss. They asked if I could fix it or help in some way. I told them no because I did not cause the situation. I had already given them clear warnings. They chose to ignore them. This was simply the result of that decision. After that moment, something changed. The confidence they had before was gone. The attitude was gone. And most importantly, the behavior stopped. From that day on, there was no more laundry on my fence. No clips, no towels, nothing. They stayed on their side and respected the boundary exactly like they should have. From the beginning, there were no more arguments, no more conversations, just silence. And honestly, that was all I wanted from the start. I was not looking for conflict. I just wanted my property to be respected. What I learned from that situation is that some people do not respond to words. You can explain things clearly and politely, but if they decide it does not matter, they will keep doing what they want until something forces them to stop. And when that moment comes, it does not need to be loud or aggressive. It just needs to be effective enough to make them understand. If you made it this far, I want to know what you would have done in the situation. Would you have handled it the same way or tried something different? Drop your thoughts in the comments and do not forget to share this story with someone who would enjoy it. And if you want more stories like this, make sure you are subscribed to Karen's Stories Daily.